What made you decide to end your first ever relationship?
Caught her cheating on me. Her excuse was that I wasn't enough of a bad boy for her. Fast forward to present day and she has 2 children and no boyfriend or husband.
Her becoming addicted to opioids, super sad. She killed herself. Quite an abrupt ending.
He broke up with me. But I was 15 at the time, he was 19. My mom kicked me out and his mom let me stay at his house. My mom told me to come back home and made me stop talking KG to him, and after 2 weeks of just texting he told me he was breaking up with me. I was really upset at the time, but now I know, me being 15, I had no business being with a 19-year-old lol.
She got pregnant while living with her sister, by her sister's husband.
I felt like she was too good for me lol.
I was in 7th grade. The boy I dated has been my best friend for a while and I quickly fell in love with him. Dating him felt like a dream at first. But it quickly fell apart when he started sexualizing me and telling me I am nothing without God. He ended up breaking it off with me and started dating my smaller, prettier best friend. It broke my heart. But I realized that he was genuinely a disgusting, toxic person. He ended up moving away and I cut off all ties. We tried to rekindle the friendship a few times over the years, but he fucked it up every time. I eventually chose me and blocked him indefinitely. No regrets.
My first relationship I ended was BC. He was cheating with a mutual friend. I should have broken up with him way sooner, but hey.
Narcissistic manipulator got too far. I finally figured I couldn't live like this any longer. His family and religion. Family gets him an arranged marriage and his religion is extremely sensitive about us. It's been almost 3 years since we broke up. Sometimes I still think about him and what would have happened if we ran away and start a life together.
He was a lazy, incredibly overweight slob who put some incredibly strange requests on the relationship, and I realized I wasn't about to abide to those rules when he crossed a lot of my boundaries. Lack of attraction was also a reason.
I was 19 and moving away to uni. He never wanted to leave Norfolk, very rural area where we grew up. I loved him and I loved home, but I knew we wanted very different things from life. I ran into him at a mutual friend's wedding recently 10 years later. He is married and has a baby now. It was a bit awkward seeing each other, but nice to see him happy.
She did not get my jokes.
It was not my choice, but honestly, life changes. We went to different colleges and had different lives and just grew apart. Everything I liked was stupid. He constantly teased me and I'm okay with playful teasing, but when it's about stuff I care about and it's all the time, it gets old real fast. Also, he wanted to do things I wasn't ready for and threatened to break up with me for it. We were like 16, so yeah, super toxic.
It became too much to deal with someone behind my back thinking when I'm talking to a girl I'm cheating. She isn't ready for relationship yet her own mental and physical health is unstable, plus struggle in career and family drama that we thought it's the best to end it so she can sort herself out. I can take the opportunity to work on my own stuffs as well, so it was good for either of us. Still friends, of course.
Was 13 years my senior and was testing the waters with dating. Nice guy, just wasn't ready for a serious commitment. He called me by my sister's name while having sex.
I was turning 16 that night. She was 19, turning 20 and going into college. I didn't want her to go to college and people find out she has a 16-year-old boyfriend, so I broke up with her the night of my birthday. She was actually really manipulative and mean, but I didn't realize at the time.
I realized that we just worked better as friends. There was no real spark, and he was feeling the same way by the time I decided to call it. Was nice to be able to transition back to platonic friends with no real trouble.
I went off to college. We tried the long-distance thing, but over time we just grew apart.
Never ended a relationship. I had 3 so far. First BF was manipulative, a rapist, and a cheater. He dumped me mostly because I didn't trust him anymore. He cheated on me 6 times in 3 years. I had fear reactions with him. He was violent, sometimes towards me, and I was moving to another city for university. Also, what I didn't know at the time was that he was dating someone else for a month, so he persistently waited to have a plan B before dumping me. Fortunately, it's been 4 years since he dumped me and I meet a wonderful boyfriend. It'll be 3 years together at the end of the month, but it definitely leaves some scares and I'm seeing a therapist for that.
They just kinda went quiet on me after 5 months and we got all distant suddenly and then they dumped me lol. It might have been where it was my first relationship obviously and I wasn't too comfortable with kissing and being public cause it was only a few weeks in at the time, and I wasn't out to my family, as we were a same-sex couple so I couldn't do much that would put me into a situation that I wasn't ready for. But they texted me every single hour of the day and I got overwhelmed. I get overwhelmed easily but they just wouldn't leave me alone and didn't stop calling me. I didn't get any sleep or any time to myself lol. Looking back, it was probably my fault because of me. We weren't very kissy or cuddly but hey, it was my first relationship, and we were 13 LMAO. We're still friends though so I'll take it.
We started dating at 16, and broke up at 21. A lot of growing happens in that time. He was kind but was too scared to voice what he actually wanted in the future. He let me ramble on about dream homes and dream jobs and our future together, but the future dream career his friends casually mentioned was totally different and he'd never said a whisper about it. Big takeaway: I learned that I need a partner as stubborn as I am. EXBF and I both had questions we were too afraid to ask the other. When those finally came to light, that was the end of our relationship. The saddest thing I'd learned was that he saw himself as exactly the same person he'd been at 13, and he was proud of not changing at all at 21. No trying to grow, or be a better person, and feeling like I was trying to pressure him into being something he wasn't. I found out she had cheated on me. Broke up with her on the spot. I realized I didn't like her and I only wanted to lose my virginity. 5.5 years later, I'm still ashamed of what a prick I used to be.
IDK may be the fact he's heavily abusive.
I was falling in love with him hard. He liked me but I knew he was not capable of giving me what I wanted.
She was more mature than me and left me for marriage. He was a genuinely good guy, but I had a lot of problems during that period of my life. Bulimia, terrible self-esteem, low-key depression, suicidal thoughts. I felt I wasn't good enough for a relationship and it didn't matter how much he showered me with love and attention. I knew I couldn't accept it unless I started loving myself. I broke it off not because I didn't love him back but because I really needed to work on myself, get my head out of the darkness. He probably would have helped me if I told him the real reason back then, but I gave a bullshit reason for the breakup and he hated me for a while so it went off the realm of possibilities. We eventually talked again a few years later and both said we were sorry for what happened. Me for lying, him for not being a good listener. We ended up talking online. He wanted to see me again but I was in a relationship and didn't feel it would be fair to my now husband to see an old flame. He asked a few times but eventually stopped and we sadly don't talk anymore.
I had a 3-year relationship in high school. I was young and so is she. It is about grade 8-10 I guess. Me being shy and basically wanting to try these BFGF thing. At the first few months it is going well, and I keep on reminding myself that this is just a practice. For context, she just had her breakup, and coincidentally we had the same first name. I have always been that love guru guy but with no actual experience but is always approached for advices. I know that I have an uncle Arun just motive in entering this relationship. I know that I am being a jerk. But I also know that she is treating me as a rebound, well because we dated after a few weeks or about a month after their breakup. I just sucked it up and see where will this go. After all, this is my first relationship. The first 3 months we got to know each other more, I began to fall for her. We are from a town with some schools and we go to different schools so we just meet up after school, quite small time, just about 12 hours after school together and go to church every Sunday. Hug her when she is about to go home. In the first year it was all good until a friend of mine in her school that she is dating another guy in their school's second year. I was infuriated and confronted her about this as I also noticed that she had blatantly changed her profile pic into that guy and her name is a blend of theirs. Oh boy was I angry and I thought to myself, why am I angry if this is just a practice? That's when I know I went pretty deep into this. I really did develop feeling for her. When I confronted her about this, she said it was just a dare in her group of friends. She quickly changed it. I talked to her about abhorring betrayal. I promised her that I will love her as long as there is trust. We talked and maintained our relationship. A week before our 3rd year of our relationship, we went to a mass, ate outside, and just window shopped in a mall not too big. She was clingy, but I did not complain. She talked about future plans, college and after college. You know, dreams and stuff for both of you. When I went to drop her to where she takes her ride home, I went for a hug but rejected. I wondered why after I got home. That night, all of a sudden, she isn't returning any calls or texts. I tried going through her social accounts, but I was blocked. She ghosted me. Then I messaged her friend, and she told me that she is going out with another man. Turns out they just started dating a week before our 3-year anniversary. Dang, that hit me real hard. I cried in my sleep. I was not taking the relationship seriously at first, but I can tell that I did love her along the way. I had always been loyal. I had always given what I can if I can when she asked. I was broken. I don't know why she did that. Then a day before the anniv, she messaged me telling my everything, that she liked him and he liked her, so just please stop disturbing them. I can't believe she said that. But karma sure hits fast. I was soon informed that a week after our anniv, turns out the man she is dating actually have a GF already and broke up with ex ghosting her. I laughed really hard about that. She tried contacting me, but hell no, I don't want any of this love shit. I blocked her and cut off any communications with her. I already told her before that she'd cheat on me again, and it's done for good.
Our passion for each other was just seemingly headed for disaster. I was 17, she was 16. She was experienced, but she was my first. I think I held out on having sex for about a month or 2, maybe less, but once we started, it snowballed to a steady flow, for sure. Racing home to her house after school for a quickie before her parents pulled in the driveway. Sneaking out into each other's houses all hours of the night and school nights. It was phenomenal, really, because not only was the sex dangerous, fun, good, but he felt more connected to her emotionally than I ever felt anyone else afterward. But the riskiness of what we were doing weighed on my mind, mostly because of how much I adored her folks, who were very active parts of our relationship. We all bowled league together, sat around playing board games together. They were kinda more like family to me than my actual family. And we were always a few seconds away from them losing all respect for me, with our constant secret romps. One night in particular was unmistakably eye-opening. We were going at it in her bedroom, about 2 a.m., when she tells me that she thinks her dad, who was a parole officer's awake, that I should hide in her closet. It was one that had 2 sliding doors, you know. So I throw my boxers on slide behind one of the doors into her closet. Sure enough, there's soon a knock on her door. He opens it, asks if she's okay, claiming he thought he heard her talking to someone. She tried to fake like she was groggy from just waking, told him that no, she hadn't been talking to anyone, then proceeded to ask him why he had his gun out. It's at this point that I realize I might literally die there, with my boxers on. And I shit you not, as I sat huddled behind her closet door, curiosity got the better of him. He slid the door open, only, it was the other one, the one that I wasn't behind. And I guess since he didn't see any movement or hear anything, the one door was all he opened, but, I mean, I'm shitting bricks at this point. I made it out of there alive that night, but ended it not long afterwards for a couple reasons, the primary of which being that, it just seemed like the sex was going to hurt somebody in the long run, even if that just meant her parents essentially disowning me. What's ironic though is that, looking back, that connection we had was really exactly the kind of thing I'd want if I had somebody today. Desire so strong that you'd take huge risks just to be near them. You live, you love, you learn. After going long distance and realizing that it realistically wouldn't work out since we wouldn't be able to dedicate enough time for one another since she was going to med school, we both thought it would be for the best if we split. The relationship didn't last long, but it was fun while it lasted, and we're still on good terms today.
Well, she broke up with me, so she's the one who ended it, lol. But it was for good reason. I was unbearably immature, selfish, and had no serious direction in my life. She put up with me for as long as she could, until she realized she deserved better. I'm a much better man now because of her, and I hope she's doing well. I was 21, he was 22. We had been together almost 3 years, but I realized that he was really controlling. He insisted that I like everything he liked and tried to stop me from liking things he didn't. For example, I hate watching football. He insisted that I watch all 3 games with him every Sunday. He wouldn't let me read a book while the game was on either because I needed to learn to like it. There are a bunch of other things. I decided one day I'd had enough. Well, he broke up with me. So, rejection?
I didn't decide. He broke up with me, over a year into the relationship, over the phone. We just signed a lease together a few weeks before and he'd said he wanted to marry me in the future just the night before he broke up too. Shit fucking sucked, but now I'm in a way better place than I ever would have been with him, so I'm glad he did it, whatever his reasons.
We were arguing every 5 minutes about small stuff. Also, I worked all day and she refused to clean the house. She was boring AF, always saying bad stuff about herself. She was older, so she didn't want to be seen with me 17. She was 21 and that was the last straw.
Answer: lack of ambition.
It was back in middle school. I remember just not liking her enough for it to last longer. She was like a year younger than me. So, I knew that after the school year ended I wouldn't get to see her as often and her personality was just too much energy and I didn't feel like we could last that long. To be fair, I was a weird kid too.
After going out for a few months, she eventually tells me that she was only going out with me to get away from her mom. I ended it right then.
I had no time to myself or personal space anymore. She basically moved in after a week or so even though I was still living with family at the time. Once the sex got boring, that was it.
He wanted to celebrate the millennium with his friends instead of me.
She was 8 years older than me but too dependent on me.
She got jealous and never gave me space. Our relationship lasted 6 months. I was feeling very good after leaving her.